And you can see now that I'm directly in the portal. So this is a portal now that you can log into, and it's going to require a user ID and a password that allows you to have access. So there's nothing physically installed on your machine, but you're accessing this information via a browser. So what you're seeing right now, as an example, you're seeing some of the most recently used reports that we're looking at or have been looked at by the last person or by yourself, if you're in there, what's in there. So you have that ability. Now, in order to create something, all you need to do is always look for the plus sign. And what I do is I go into the bottom left-hand corner, and you'll see a plus sign next to new. And if I put my mouse over there in the bottom left-hand corner, I'll click on the plus sign, and it's going to ask me, what do I want to create? And what we're going to start with is we're going to start with a dashboard. So if I click on the plus sign, the first thing that it's going to ask me is it's going to ask me what kind of layout or what kind of template do you want to work with? Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose a template that I like. So I'm going to choose this one right here in the bottom right-hand corner. And once I select that template, I'm just going to go ahead and click on OK. With that being selected, the template is now in play. Now it's going to ask me to connect to a source. Now, what that means is when I click on the source, I can either click over here or the plus sign up on top here. They're one and the same, where I can say add a source. And I'm going to be connecting to a package. Now, we've created a package specifically for SAP Business One, and I'm going to go ahead and open that one up, and I'm just going to click on add. By doing that, you're going to see the model that we've created as it relates to the order book, which has the information on calendars. And if I open up calendars as an example, you're going to see some additional information. You're going to see information with regards to the year, the quarter, the month, and then there's some information related at the fiscal period as well that you can look at. Further down, we've got our contact information, we've got salesperson as an example, and we include both the codes and the descriptions depending on whether or not you want to report on one or the other. If I open up my item master, I'm going to see some additional information, and you can see it's organized into different folders. So we're not trying to show all the information all in one shot. And again, the fields that we're including are what we feel are most relevant and most important as a starting point for you as a customer, and in terms of best practices that customers use. But sometimes there are fields that you may want to have that are not part of the initial design. You let us know, and we put those in as part of the implementation process. And those can be either fields that are standard from SAP or user-defined fields that you want to be able to report on. So if I go ahead and click on the general area, you'll see things like the item description or the item family, also known as the item group, the selling unit and measure, and so forth. And then you'll get into some other information as it relates to cost and selling information, or some information as it relates to supply in regards to case pack quantity, minimum order quantity. And you'll notice that some of the inventory information is there as well, on hand, on order, and so forth. And again, we continue going through where you'll see information as it relates to customers. And we break out the customers with regards to ship tos and sold tos. So if I open up the bill to area as an example, again, you're going to see things organized with regards to general and address. So we'll see some information as it relates to, bill to customer descriptions, customer groups and territories, and so forth. And then you'll have your address information to then going right to suppliers. But then once we go through all of that kind of information and what we refer to as more master data, we then get into our quotations and orders and purchases. And then you're going to see what I've spoken about earlier with regards to sales credits. And as I mentioned before, we're organizing sales and credits together. So you're seeing it combined. And if I click on the open area, you're going to see it's broken up into what we refer to as our document information that's more at the header level, and certain things that are at the line level. So I can open that up and I can see the information where I'm looking at invoice number and invoice date And again, information that I want to be able to report on and look at, all that information is available to me. To the point of when I get to my line key figures, and I can see the measures that I want to be able to report on, from quantity to sales dollars, to net sales, to cost of sales, to gross profit. Again, we're including these calculations that are going to be things that people are going to want to work with on a regular basis. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this information and we're going to start in creating our first dashboard. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on, first and foremost, commissions. So if I take my commissions dollar, which is right here, I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop it right onto the canvas. And again, you'll notice that when I drag it, you're going to see that little blue area. So at least it takes up the entire area. So I just drop it, and then the commissions is going to go up to the database, pull that information, and you're going to see that information summarized for $407,000. Now, I'm then going to be able to bring in some additional measures. So I also want to be able to see the gross profit. So I'm going to take my gross profit and bring it in. Again, I want it to take the entire area. Again, it's a purely drag and drop right onto the canvas. Finally, I'm going to take my net sales number, which is right here, and I'm going to go ahead and just drag and drop it right onto the canvas. So now that I have the information for those three metrics, what I'm going to do is I'm going to format things so that I can see it, not necessarily this way. I want it formatted so it sees a little bit nicer. So I'm just going to click on the format button. By just clicking on the one that I want, I say format, and it's going to ask me, I want to do it for a number, and I'm going to say abbreviate. So this way, instead of seeing 83,171,622, it's going to abbreviate right now to 83.2 million. I'm going to do the same thing for the other two measures, again, by just clicking on it and saying number, and then clicking on abbreviate to 27.4 million, and again to this one, number, to abbreviate. So now I've got the starting point of my specific dashboard. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some information to be able to relate that information at a different level of detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead right up to the top that's over here where I have my item family. And I'm going to go ahead and bring that into the report to be able to look at the information as it relates to commissions. So I can see what is going on with regards to that. Where are those commissions coming from? So it allows me to pick and choose that information. But not only do I want to be able to see item family, I also want to be able to see my commissions information by customer group. So I'll bring in both areas and I can just drag and drop it right into the area over here. So now what I'm looking at is I have some information that's available to me, and it allows me to say, well, I want to just see LED drivers. What's going on with regards to my commissions? I can click on that. And notice what happens when I click on LED drivers. That number is now changing to $50,000. And my gross profit is changing, and my net sales are changing. I can do the same thing also with regards to any one of these areas in picking any one of these guys that, again, the information is going to be further filtered if I want. So again, I can choose, for example, Gullivan as an example right here. And again, my information in regards to that is going to, again, further get filtered. If I want to remove those filters, again, I can just control click and it'll go away. Or if I want to be able to select more than one, I can control click the other ones and they'll also be included in that calculation. And notice as I'm clicking multiple ones, those numbers are changing and they're adding up. But again, I can do that, or again, just click over here where the filters are and just say, I don't want these filters for item family anymore. I just click on that X and they all go away. So you can see how it works with regards to that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at it in a different perspective. I've got another window over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move up to where I have my salesperson. Now I've got salesperson over here, and I'm going to take that. And I'm going to now also go ahead and take the commissions information that is sitting all the way down over here. By selecting the two of them, I control click them. I'm now going to drag them in right into this area to allow me to see things in a different perspective. So now I'm looking at this information. It's going to now visualize that information at a different level. So what am I looking at right now? Now I'm looking at a bar graph that shows me all of my different salespeople, and it's showing me exactly where the sales are coming from. Now, one of the things that you can notice up here is you're going to see that I have salesperson that is over here, and I've also got salesperson that's coming inside of the customer master that's over here. Again, one is more tied to the transaction, the other one is tied to the customer. So depending on what you're doing, it's going to allow you to look at things in either perspective that you want. Now, looking at this kind of display, I can look at it this way, or I can change the display. So I can expand this and say, instead of looking at this as a column chart or as a bar chart, I can say, I want to change that. I want to look at a different visualization. I want to look at a word cloud instead. So again, I've got a whole bunch of different visualizations that are available to me. If I click on the all visualizations, I can see them all there, all the different ones that are there. But I want the word cloud. So I'm going to click on the word cloud, and it's going to look at the information in a very different perspective. So now what it's showing is the bigger the font that you're looking at means that they're accounting for more of the commission. So if I put my mouse over, for example, on Jacques D, you're going to see that the commissions are accounting for 255,000. Whereas for Ascend, it's accounting for 93 or 90, and AFS, it's accounting for 39. And if I go ahead and minimize this or collapse it, it brings it into the actual display. And now I'm able to interact. So I can say, show it to me just for LED drivers. I just click on that. And what happens is, not only do the numbers change over here, but the reps that are making up that amount are actually showing up over here on the left side. So it's giving you a very good visualization of the information that you're looking at. So again, I can put my mouse just over Jacques D, and I can see, well, he's accounting for 19,800 of that commission, versus AFS is accounting for a different number. So that's one way you can get things at a more higher level to be able to look at things.